This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, also welcome to performance testing with JMeter Core to advanced level, and today will be actually extension of day 5. Okay, extension, because yesterday also I told that it will be day 5, but it took some time, right? So today will be the extension of day 5, right? So what we covered? We covered this cookie and cache yesterday, and then I covered this topic. Then today we'll cover this, right? Fine. So this is done, then yeah, application or client architecture, its type, design, and different layers. So what is that basically? Hope my voice is audible very well, and hope you guys can hear it clearly. Yeah. Okay, so architecture means the layout, like a design criteria, right? Like suppose a house is built, so there is some layout, right? Like you lay the foundation, then like that, pillars, all those things, correct? So that is what meaning of architecture means, the design, right? So same way the application, the software, they have some architecture that is called as client server architecture. There are n types of design, and again in them there are different layers. Okay, so in any design, any architecture, there are three basic layers which are the foundation of application architecture. What are they? Presentation tier or presentation layer, logic tier or business logic layer, data tier or data manipulation layer. Okay, so this presentation tier or presentation layer, it's called short form PL. This is a logic layer or business logic layer or business logic tier, it is called BLL, and data tier or data manipulation layer, it is called DML, right? So I'll explain this layer, and next slide we'll go and see. Then we have different types. These are the layer means in any house there will be some layer. Again, there will be different types of houses. The same way the types of architecture, so in that there is one tier architecture, two tier architecture, three tier architecture, and multi-tier architecture. Multi-tier architecture is actually a extension of three-tier architecture. Few people call this n-tier architecture, but it's a multi-tier. In real it will be called as multi-tier architecture, just the extension of three-tier architecture. Now we'll understand about all these three, four architectures. So first tier architecture. See, this first tier architecture doesn't exist nowadays. Okay. It used to exist long back, 15, 20 years back. Fine. Now this is not in existence. In one tier architecture, what used to happen? Every component, let us say for a software, for an application to design and keep it working, okay, so that it is accessible from outside. Let us say Flipkart only. So it will the whole component, right, all will be kept in one setup, inside one setup. Okay, so this used to exist very long back, like 90, 20 years back. Nowadays this kind of architecture is not there. In a small prototypes, this architecture is there, or you can say it is used. So one example, like I'll say, suppose you have done the project in your engineering, right? In 8th semester, when you there is a project to design an application and to show, so there you must have used your own laptop, right? You have set up the the application setting, the database, and all the thing in your laptop only, and you have shown that to your department, right? HODs. Correct. So when you do all the thing in one machine, in one setup, all the component when you set up in one only one machine in one setup, that is what one tier architecture. Okay. Next, two tier architecture. In two tier architecture, there will be two layers. One is client layer, another one is database layer. Right? Two layers will be there. So I'll explain these two layers. These two layer exist nowadays also. Okay, where it is used, I'll explain. We'll understand two tier and three tier in one example so that it will be clear. So after two tier, we have three tier architecture. First, I'll explain three tier. Okay, then we'll see the two tier and three tier. Right. Three tier architecture is the current ongoing architecture of any application. In nowadays, in any application, this three tier architecture is used. Two tier is also there, three tier is also there, but three is what? Uh, uh, I'll tell where two will is used, where three is used, but three is mostly in all the web application, right? Web and mobile application. Uh, uh, this three tier is used. In three tier, generally three layers are there. Which three layers? This the three layer which I just discussed now. PL layer, BL layer, and DML layer. Okay. So so that is first layer will be PL layer, presentation layer. Okay. Second layer will be the BL layer, logic layer or business logic layer, and this layer will be data layer or DML layer. Right. Now we'll understand each layer. See the presentation layer. What is the presentation layer? Okay. So whenever you open any website, so right, so the static content on the website which doesn't change. So I'll say, let us say, I'll open ICICI Bank. Suppose anyone is visiting the ICICI Bank. So you see this all layout, which is common for every user accessing this website in this world. Whoever access ICICI, this this uh this stuff, right? This doesn't change. Okay, this data will remain same. So that is called static. Okay, and plus this is the first what I would say the first interaction. I mean the front end, right? The front end. It is also called as front end, with which the user interacts. Correct. We are interacting with this only. We will be doing anything on this one, right? So this kind of thing is called presentation layer, and this presentation layer means I'll explain right how that is developed, all those things. So all the coding and all the component used for this layer that we see and which is static, that will be kept on one setup, that is called as presentation layer. Okay. Now you'll ask me, okay, let me clear this confusion. Suppose I log in here and I came on this page. Again, this will be also common to everyone. When the things will change, when I will do the login, then the main dashboard will come, account dashboard, right? So every people will have their different dashboard, correct? Showing They're different details. Your balance, my balance, your account transaction, my account transaction. Um, yeah, right. Everything, your history, my history. So that component which changes user to user, that will be called as dynamic. Same way, suppose if you log into Facebook, everyone will be having their different data, right, on their. It will not be same. I'll be having my friend list, my friend post. You'll be having your friend list, your friend post. Correct. So that data, which that change, right? But there will be some component which doesn't change, which will remain common for all the users. So that part which doesn't change, that comes under presentation layer through which user interacts. Right. The first, you can say the interaction layer, or it is also called as a front end. Front end. Okay. So this is what the presentation layer is. Okay. Presentation layer. Now to make the presentation layer, what are the technology used? Uh, HTML language, which is main, along with that the CSS, JavaScript. In JavaScript, there are many versions used nowadays. Angular is there, and then Angular and React. These are all Java's library only. So you must have heard of this. These are called front-end development language. Front-end developer, you must have heard, right? So front end, front-end languages or front-end developer, right? So using this kind of technologies, this layer is designed, and the developer who are expert in this, they are called front-end developer. Okay, or these are called also front-end development languages, right? Then comes the next layer, which is BL, business logic layer. Now, what is this layer? So, uh, the coding, right? The coding which is used to show what to whom. Remember, to show what to whom, and to do logical activity. All this is activity, right? To show what to whom, uh, and logical activity, right? The layer which does that, that is called business logic layer. In name itself, it's a business logic layer, right? Means doing the main business related stuff. Now, what is that, if you ask? So, suppose I logged in on this here. So, as I said, I will, after logging in, I will get my transaction detail, my balance, mine detail, everything. You will get your detail, everything. Correct. Same way on Facebook, if you log in, I'll get my detail, which will be different. You people will get your detail, which will be different. So, how that is done? How that application is knowing that to show what to whom, right? To show what to whom. So for that also the code needs to be written, right? Plus other business related functionality, like what I'll say. Suppose you have added one beneficiary in your account, and limitation to the, suppose you have set a limitation that in one day we can only transfer 10,000. Now, if you try to transfer more than 10,000, it will throw error. So this kind of logical check, or let us say, uh, from our internet banking, we can do many things. You can switch off your credit card. You can switch on your debit cards, credit card, right? So suppose you have switch off your credit card, and then you okay, or you can switch on all this thing, right? This kind of business related stuff, correct? Right, getting the point. So because that business is very vast. See, this presentation layer is very, it's simple because or the presentation coding or the presentation part, the static part is very simple in design. Main toughness is in the logical uh, designing the logical activity, correct? Like so many functionalities will be there, right? Okay, in a banking app only you can see how much complex it is, right? Uh, Here and there doing many things. So that stuff is is uh, is all those component is kept on a setup, that layer is called BLL layer, and the technologies used to design that layer are, you may know, very famous: Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Rails, all this, and there, and this layer is called backend. Remember, you can, it is also called a backend, and these tools are, you can say, backend development tool, and the developer who develop these are called backend developer. Okay, backend developer. You must have heard of front end developer, backend developer. Those person who know all this, both, they are called full stack developer. Full stack developer, right? Demand of this kind of developer is more. You must be knowing a Java developer. Why? .NET developer, Python. Because this layer is very complex. So developer who know to design this, he must also be having that level of experience, right? So that's why demand is more for this layer development people, and their salary is also more high compared to this. Okay. Now the last part. The last layer is database layer. Because everything is stored in a data form. Even you, whatever you upload on as a photo, or whatever message you send on Facebook to your friends, or whatever post is coming, or let us say your transaction history, your bin, everything will be stored somewhere, right? So uh, that is where the database layer, right? In the database, everything is stored, all information is stored, and whenever the user interacts, like any user will be interacting with this layer. Like let us say uh, you are logging in here, and this is, you have open ICIC, so you are logging in, so you will be interacting through this layer only. uh, right, this you'll open and you'll see the content, and you'll enter username and password that will come here through this layer. Your earlier username and password that will be stored from database, that will be fetched by this layer, because this layer does all the activity, right? It will match, okay, the username and password entered by that fellow is correct or not. If it is correct, then he will, they will allow you to log in, and then you will see the dashboard page. When again the when dashboard page is coming, so what are your balance, what are all the things, from where it will fetch. So again this layer will fetch from this layer, and it will show to you, right? So that is what, this is how interaction come here, come here, from here the data is fetched, they are manipulated, and then it is shown to you through this layer one, right? This is how the interaction happens, correct? Now, so this setup where it is called kept, that layer is called DML layer, data manipulation layer, or data layer. The technologies, very well-known technologies are there. Uh, MySQL, Oracle DB, Oracle technology, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PostgRE, MongoDB, like that. So many database technology they're using which that database layer is designed, and the developer who design this, they are called database developers, database admin, database developer, right? Correct. Now nowadays these are this role has changed, the meaning has changed, and uh, now they are known as data analytics. a data analytic kind of thing has came in market. Okay. But actually, yeah, that is what database related or data related anything. So that is what they using this technology, using those developers, this layer is designed. Now, all these components are kept on different machines. Okay, they are not kept in one machine. Like how I told you in one layer, a one tier architecture, all is kept in one setup. But these all are kept on different setup. So on the on machine where it is this one is kept, that machine is called as web server. Remember, on machine where this one is kept, that is called app server, application server. And on the machine where this one is kept, that is called database server. So remember, presentation layer component will be generally kept on web server. Business logic layer component will be kept on app server, and DML will be kept on database layer, and they will be interconnected. That is what in data center, right? I told you to watch the video. So all the different servers will be there interconnected with each other. Okay. Now we'll move to this entire architecture. Entire architecture is nothing but the extension of three-tier architecture. Only in that what happens, multiple web server will be there, multiple app server will be there, multiple database server will be there. So that's why it is called entire architecture, just the extension of multi-tier, three-tier architecture. Now, why this multi-layer will be there? Correct. So, yeah. So why the multiple web servers, multiple app servers, multiple DB server, right? To understand this, just understanding in this form, everyone has some capacity, right? Like uh, suppose in a let us say we per as a person, suppose I can pick 40 kg weight. Maybe someone can keep pick only 20 kg weight, right? Someone will be there who can uh, pick 60 kg weight also, right? Like that. So everyone has some capacity, everything has some capacity, right? There is 100 cc car, there is 500 cc car, there is 200 cc car. In bike also, right? 125 cc, 150 cc, 100 cc, 350 cc, 250 cc, right? Power, capacity, power. So same way, every server has some capacity. Now let us say one, for an example, one web server, one app server, and one DB server has a capacity to handle 5,000 users, or let 1,000 users, 1,000 requests per second. It means what? 1,000 requests means what? Suppose 1,000 people are coming on a web application per second in 1 second on Flipkart. Let us say 1,000 users are coming in 1 second on Flipkart, and they are doing some activity. So they will be sending a request, right? So let us say 1,000 people will be there. So 1,000 requests they will be sending every second. So this one, and there is only one web server, one app server, one DB server, and it has a capacity to handle only 1K thousand requests per second. Now let us say more than that. If 10,000 people comes, if 1 lakh people can come, so can these machines handle that? Only one machine? No, right? Because its capacity is only to handle 1K. Then how 10,000 requests, 5,000 requests can be handled? That is not possible. So that is where it will slow, right? And it will blow. That machine will blow if you run put that much extent load, right? So that is why we bring in multiple web server, multiple app server, multiple DB server. depending on the requirement. Right, that is where business analytics comes in picture, that everyone they get the data that okay, they will see that okay, on an average on my let us say Flipkart people, they will say that on an average on my website per second basis 1 lakh user is coming. So they will make their infrastructure, this whole stuff is called as infrastructure. They will whole make their infrastructure in that way so that it can handle 1 lakh and little bit extra, right? Some extra also. uh, Request it should be able to handle, and that many web server accordingly they will keep that many app server, they will keep that many DB server, they will keep like that. This works, this goes. Okay, so that is what, so you can see the diagram here. Now generally complex multi-tier architecture in that many other components are also there. I'll show you a few diagrams in next slide. Like you see here, load balancer is there. Load balancer. You'll ask what is load balancer? Load balancer helps in balancing the load. Like let us say when the requests are coming, so many. Now which web server is free? How much it is free, right? Let us say each web server has handling capacity 1K. Now this is handling at 700. This is at 600. This is at 800. So where to divert the traffic, right? To who are free, right? That is the name work of load balancer. So before every layer they will be there, then security layers are there, firewall are there to protect the infra infrastructure, right? Firewall, proxy server, proxy layers, all these things are there. So those are additional things that are there, but in right, so those are additional things, but main are these layers. Okay, main are these layers. Now before I talk more on these 2 tier and 3 tier, let us understand these two more terms called thin client application and thick client application. Okay. So thin client application, all the application, all the web application, all the browser based application, right? All the browser based application, they are called thin client application. I mean all those application which we can access through browser, through web, they are called thin client application. Thin client application has 3 tier architecture or multi-tier architecture. Okay. Fine. So thin all these web browser based application are thin client application, and they have the 3 tier architecture or the complete, yeah, multi-tier architecture. I mean they follow the 3 tier architecture uh, l- layer. Okay, the first layer is always presentation layer, the client user facing, and that is not installed. What is the meaning of this install? I'll explain. But that is what first layer is, presentation layer, and we used a third-party interface called browser to access that layer. And then the backend, in the backend side, there will be a BL layer and database layer on the server side. Correct. Next is thick client application, not fat client application. So in that, the mobile apps, the desktop apps like train ticket booking, clerk app, bank employee app, restaurants order accepting app, etc. These all are the example of thick client applications or fat client. Thick client applications has 2 tier architecture. Okay, see now, right now I'm coming to two tier. I told right that I'll explain two tier later on. So layer one, which is generally one layer, that is called PL layer and BL layer, are treated as one layer called client layer, client side, right? And this layer is basically installed on the client side. You see, this is not installed, this is installed. So I'll explain, okay, what is the meaning of this installation. In next slide, I'll explain. And there is no involvement of any third-party interface to access these applications. Here we need a browser to access the application. Here we do not need any third-party interface. Okay. The DML layer, database layer, is obviously centralized. Okay, centralized. So let us understand this in this slide. I'll take an example of ICIC. ICIC app, any banking app. Let us say this is ICIC banking app, bank app that we use. App means what? The mobile, I'm saying mobile, the Android or the iOS that we have in our mobile. And this one downside is ICIC bank app only. App means what? Application. Again, this is same bank app only, but the web version, the website version, web. Now, what is the difference between these two? Understand. The web version, we use a browser, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, whatever, to access that. And that properly follow three layers: presentation layer, application layer, and database layer. And we use a browser to access that web application, right? Correct. Browser is what? Browser is a third party tool which we are using to access any website, the same ICIC web, right? And here nothing is installed. Any component of ICIC banking web app is not installed in our laptop. No, right? It is on already on the internet. We are accessing it through a browser, correct? But this mobile app, this follow two-tier architecture. Why so? Because the component, right? The PL and BL component that we say, that is installed in our mobile. Is it installed or not? Through the app store, we download the genuine ICIC app, install it, correct? And after all the authentication and all the thing, once first time registration we do, right? So then one just a pin, or if you just put your finger reader, you will directly enter into your account. So there is no, so that first thing is that a component given by that bank is installed. It is locally installed in your mobile, and there is no third party interface is required. Only you need the internet to access with the database, so that it's once you log in inside that, the current balance, the current transaction, it will fetch from the database and it will show you. But here you see, here all these thing are on the internet kind of, in the internet side only. And in that also, that's why the database, the last is centralized basically. That is not kept on any machine, right? I mean, on any mobile or anything, that is completely separated. This layer is completely separated. Okay. Right. Because this is the main, right, thing where the data is kept. So that is completely separated. That's why this layer comes in picture. We cannot do all the setup in one machine because of this many things. Because of so many demands are there. Demand of mobile app are there. Demand of web versions are there. So to integrate them, we have to come up with multiple layers and keep them in different machine, right? Now for a mobile app system, you cannot have a different database, and for web app, you cannot have a different database. It should be same. Why I'm saying you cannot have different database? Because the information should be kept at a common place only, right? Suppose you are accessing your bank account through your mobile, and the database is something different, and same you are accessing through web, and database is something different. So what will happen? Will it will show your balance? No, right? Here it will show something else, here it will show something. That's why this layer will be common. This part, this two layer changes, right? And that is the reason, because let us say suppose through web you are sending 10K, you are putting in your account, so it will be reflected in database. And through app version, mobile version, if you check, you will see okay, 10,000 is credited. Why? Because this layer is sync layer, common layer. Only this part differs depending on the use. For web version, this is how three layers comes in picture. For app version, only two. The only one layer is there, that is generally client layer, which is basically there on the client machine, that is installed on client machine. Okay, that is two tier and three tier. Right. Some more example of two tier are like, as I said, these desktop apps. But nowadays, the desktop app, mostly the desktop apps are going out of picture, since they are uh, earlier they used to exist. Uh, uh, now they are moving to the web version only. Okay. In desktop apps, what used to happen? Same like mobile apps, how mobile app we download in our mobile. So in desktop app, what used to happen earlier? The the component, right? The first component, which will be generally PL and BLL, that will be basically installed in the user machine, user laptop. Okay, user laptop or user PC. Okay, earlier in the bank also it used to happen. If you guys remember, I think you cannot remember, but yeah, the bank employee, they used to use a different, totally different totally different software, uh, right? Which normal user do not use. Like normal user, like suppose we are using ICICI or SBI through web only, you say, but their employee use a different uh, layout, or you can say totally different application. Okay, so I'm speaking at my normal pace. I think already I'm speaking loud. I'm at high volume also, 96%. Hope does all are facing this uh, lowness in voice. So what used to happen in those? There will be some component that will be installed in that machine. Okay, you can check this nowadays also. Recently, in 2020, I've seen this. Suppose you go to any restaurant, order accepting uh, those restaurant, like let us say through Swiggy or through Zomato, some restaurant is sending foods, selling food, right? Generally in Bangalore, Hyderabad, it will be very common. Every restaurant is delivering food through Swiggy, Zomato. So you can go to any restaurant, small restaurant also. I'm not talking big restaurant, a small restaurant also, and you just check for a counter. There will be somewhere one counter will be there where that guy will be accepting order through the order placed through Swiggy or Zomato, right? You just check, you just try to see that interface only. So that interface will be very different compared to the Zomato, Swiggy we use, the Zomato web version which we use, or the Swiggy web version which we means the user use. Now that order accepting that restaurant people, they use a totally different version. Their screen will be different. So that is what that is two-tier architecture they are using in their laptop. In that machine, that setup is installed by Zomato Swiggy people. Okay, just to do that activity. Okay, directly they will be using that. They do not use any browser plus. So right, that interface, Zomato interface will be installed there. Fine, or Swiggy interface. So that is what in PC. Also, we have this two-tier architecture in laptop or PC. Mobile apps are generally in mobile, right? But in mobile and PC, in laptop also, we have this desktop architecture. But nowadays, this bank and employee, their earlier the app they also used to use desktop apps earlier. Now they are also moving to the web, right? Web app they are moving. But this is there. I have still seen this. You can check if you want to know more on how a desktop app look. Only thing understand that you will not be using a browser. Okay, some component kind of thing will be installed on his machine or his laptop, and he'll not be using a browser. He'll be using that app which will be installed, and he'll be accessing the data through the internet. Okay, fine. So that is what there comes the client and the uh, server, two layer only. When we use browser, then picture becomes different. There it becomes three layers. Main very good example is our mobile apps. Now multi-tier architecture. Okay, so this is what a little bit complex diagram. You can say presentation layer, business logic layer, data tier layer. So so this web server, right? You can see here web servers are there. Then your app servers are there and DB servers are there. So the external and firewall is there. This rate is called firewall. So the external user, they are using this whatever the application it is. You can see through web servers. It is come a request is coming through here, and the DB is kept same, right? And response will be going back. And the internal users. Internal user means what? The mobile apps, right? For the same application, mobile apps will be there. So for them, the layer become one, right? This whole layer become one. So there is no concept for especially PL or DML for them. Sorry, PL and BLL for them. So they directly interact only one layer. It becomes only one layer for them. And this is always centralized, one only. This will be common. It doesn't changes. Okay. Now here, this is one print layout blueprint. You can say blueprint of one of the application. So see, on any application that you will be working, you will be doing performance testing. Every application has some architecture blueprint. Okay. You can ask your senior to give to you if you yeah, if you wish, he will give you. Architecture blueprint tells you that how is your application and how that is built. Okay. So this is just one example. Like say, this application is basically uh, this is the UI layer. It is designed using the AngularJS, right? AngularJS, and then this is a business logic layer. It is designed in .NET. This is totally .NET application, right? And the last layer is database layer where Microsoft SQL Server 2014 is used, right? And this whole thing is kept on our data center, which is Azure, Microsoft Azure data center. Because nowadays, as I said, the pure concept of data center is gone. Now cloud has came. Cloud is nothing but it's a data center, but uh, these are the data center owned by some big company, and you will be getting some area in that, like hotel room, right? How we there is a big hotel room, and for everyone they will give some rooms. So that is why how it works, right? So Azure by Microsoft Azure, this whole it is hosted on that, it is kept. This whole setup, as I said, in every server, the three things are there. What is that? The hardware component, then operating system, and inside that the software component. So for the UI layer, the software component is AngularJS, and uh, there is a server software also, that is IIS 7.0. Then software component for this business is .NET, and here this is SQL Server. Then operating system is what? Operating system is Microsoft Server 2012. Generally, in if it is Java Python, people use Linux. If it is .NET application, the OS generally it will be Windows Server. And the hardware part, right? As I say, hardware part is taken care by this company. But even though in that also you'll be able to know which processor is using, how much RAM it has, correct? The web server, the app server, how many web servers are there, how many app servers are there, how many DB servers are there for that application, right? This is one more example again. This is on AWS cloud, this whole. Again, here also three layer, as you said. This is first layer. The first layer is on web server here. It is Windows EC2, means the OS is Windows. Correct. What technology is used for to design that is not given. Let it be. It, but yeah, and this is load balancer. So any people who will be using this application through the web, right, internet, you see the request will be coming from here directly, and it will be load will be balanced to the web server. From there, the request will be coming here, app server. App server, the it is on Linux OS, right? Linux OS. Here also load balancer is there, and there are some backups servers also. And the last part is MySQL, MS SQL is used. Okay, or Microsoft SQL, I think, yeah, for the database data storage. And these are some secondary MongoDBs are there, secondary DBs are there, right? And this whole setup is kept on AWS cloud, AWS infrastructure, where the hardware component will be given by them, because hardware is the main thing which takes the space, right? So we owning the space, now they will own the space and just give you, okay, you use this much space, all that services. Correct? So you will be able to know, okay, and how much which processor, how much RAM this is using, this is using, this is how many web servers are there, app servers, this all you will be able, right? Then as I said, mobile app, suppose a user is accessing the same application through mobile, so for him directly the request will be coming here. That's why this arrow is made. Why? Because there is no concept of presentation layer for him, right? Whole thing is installed in that device. You will directly access the DB, correct? Uh, we should know the architecture of any application we work. It is good for interview. Let us say you worked for 3 or on a company on 2 projects. When you go to the next interview, they can ask, okay, what was the architecture? Can you tell me how many web servers were used in that application on which you were working? What was the capacity of each servers that you have found in the load testing that you've done? Like that, they can ask, right? So when they ask what was the technology used, how many, so web server were there. So only if you know this blueprint, you will be able to explain, right? Now coming to the halt. So this is what we learned till now. That is what core concepts of performance testing. At the end of day, the user will be there. User will be doing something on the application. He will be completing one business scenario that is called a user session. Right? Each business scenario starts from a transaction and ends with a transaction. There can be multiple transaction in a business scenario depending on the length of business scenario, right? Okay. And whenever we do a transaction, the request, right? The HTML request goes to the server. There can be one request, or sometimes there can be multiple requests for one transaction. And when response is coming, that gets processed, right? That is what the embedded resources. And at the end of the day, everything goes to the presentation layer where application is there, operating system is there, and whole thing is kept on hardware part, CPU, memory, network, right? And this is what we are going to do. We are going to do the performance testing of these web servers so that we can test that, hey, my application can handle 10,000 user load per second or per hour or not. And if it is handling 10,000 user load per hour, what is the response time? Is response time less than 2 seconds for each transaction, or less than 3 seconds for each transaction? That is what we have to find. That is why the performance testing is there. Okay. And that we use to do this, we will be using any tool, and that is what we are going to learn from tomorrow. How to use the tool. Which tool we are going to learn? JMeter, to do all those things, all these things, right? So next will be day 6. So from day 6, I'll just cover this one for today. Some terminology is used in JMeter with respect to performance testing. See, in I explained, right, what is business scenario. So a business scenario is generally it is represented as a thread group. There is a name called thread group in JMeter. Okay, that acts as one business scenario or test scenario, and it holds complete end-to-end transaction with their request for that scenario, right? We can also say a thread group contain a user journey or end-to-end business or user flow, right? I mean, thread group is an element. Element means I'll explain in next session what are the element and other things. So it is one element, and it acts as a one business scenario. And so any business scenario you work on, let us say you can take product booking business scenario. So that whole thing, it will be represented by thread group, and inside that all the related transactions will be kept, right? There can be multiple business scenario, and hence we can have multiple thread groups in our JMeter test plan. When we have multiple thread group, that is called a test suite. Now we users, the user or virtual user, okay, that is generated by tool. There is a name for that in JMeter. It is called threads. See, this is called thread group. This is threads. So generally one thread means what? One user or one virtual user. Hmm? The request, okay. The request that goes, we have seen, right? Whenever we do something, a request is going. That request is known as a sampler or a sample. Sampler or a sample. And the embedded resources. Generally, we do not worry about embedded resources, but yeah, the embedded resources or the non-HTML resources, they are called sub samplers or sub samples. Fine. So that is what some few term you have to understand: thread group, threads, sampler or sample, subsampler or subsample. Because in JMeter we'll be using this terminology. So meaning of this you should be able to know it. When I say thread means it will be a virtual user. When we say sampler means it's a request. Subsampler means embedded resource. Thread group means it will act as a holder for the business scenario. Any business scenario on which we'll be working will be, uh, if you remember the phase 3, right? We identify the business scenario and we start working on each business scenario one by one, right? In which we do the recording and other thing. So yeah. Now next will be the 12 major components are there. Then introduction, recording. Okay. We will so from tomorrow, day 6, not tomorrow means from Monday, day 6 will start and we will enter into the JMeter. So all this thing like 12 major components, understand this, then we'll see the recording like that. It will go on. Fine. Any questions? So that is for today. Any questions? Let me know. Fine. Okay, huh? Fine. So thank you.
What up, sir? Quick question. Um, if you were in the last batch, you can continue in this batch, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.